Hey there, it's Candice. Thank you so much for joining me on my YouTube channel. Today I want to give you some tips for finding the best tenants for your rental properties, okay? I'm a landlord myself. I've been a landlord for almost 10 years now. If those of you who aren't familiar with me, my name is Candice. I'm a realtor in the Toronto and GTA area. And I will say, especially now, in Toronto, renting properties, it's not for the faint of heart, okay? What we're seeing is obviously with the interest rates holding steady, a lot of people are wanting to come in and buy condos because people are putting condos on the market and they do need to sell. They can't hold on to them anymore. So that's giving an opportunity to some people who are able to come in and purchase condos, and they want to rent them out. They want to make the big money, right? So in terms of, if you should buy a rental condo or if you have a rental condo and you should sell it, that's a completely different story. That's not what I'm going to discuss here. But if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer them for you privately. You can always message me for a consultation to discuss. I want to get into the nitty-gritty really quickly on how to find the best tenants, all right? I've dealt with a lot of tenants in my day. I've dealt with it for my own rentals. I've dealt with it on the investors' end. I've dealt with it on the other end in terms of getting tenants in. This is what you have to know about tenants, all right? Specifically in Toronto, tenants have a lot of power, okay? The landlord-tenant board, who governs all the relations between landlord and tenants and rules and regulations, they're backed up to the wazoo right now, okay? So you can serve them an N11, N12, all the different forms you need to do in terms of if they're not paying their rent, if you want them out for vacant possession so you can sell the property, if there's other things they're doing like damaging the property. Very difficult, okay? It's difficult to get them out. It is difficult to get money from tenants. I really like to tell landlords you have to look at it like you and this tenant are getting married. You can get a divorce, but it might get messy, all right? So you really want to make sure that you find the right tenant and put them in there, because an ounce of prevention to kind of get the right tenant is going to help you not have the headaches, basically, okay? So really quickly, here's how you find the best tenants. Number one, be open, have open communication, okay? So when you're looking for a tenant, obviously get to know them, have a Zoom chat with them, have a call with them, really get to know why they're looking to move to the area, what they like to do in their spare time, all that kind of good stuff, right? Everyone's got a feel, everyone's got a good gut, a good intuition. So if you talk with someone, you can get a good feel at least for who they are. Is that always going to prevent problems? No, nothing is, right? Renting is a business and you have to look at it like that sometimes you're going to have pluses and losses. The idea is that overall you're going to come out on top, right? So you just want to make sure that you get a feel for who they are, really what they're looking for. Number two, check all the paperwork meticulously, go through their references, make sure you give everybody a call, make sure that none of the paperwork is fraudulent, make sure that everything makes sense, and make sure that you do your due diligence that way, okay? The other thing you can do, third thing you can do, is make sure you outline everything in the lease legally and in terms of what exactly it is you are expecting of the tenant. A lot of times landlords, especially landlords that don't have a lot of experience with tenants, they kind of go in and they give them a lease and they sign it, and then they find out afterwards some of the things they put in the lease might not have been legal, or they wanted the tenant to take care of this, snow removal, and it wasn't in the lease. So now the tenant's saying that's your responsibility, or they want to have the tenant, fix this, and they're saying, no, that's your responsibility. So you really want to make sure that your lease is legal. You are following the Ontario standard lease and making sure that you're putting everything in there that needs to be done. And that, again, it's also outlining your responsibilities to the tenant and the tenant's responsibilities for you. And finally, I'm going to suggest that you have open communication with them all the time. Check in. A lot of people don't do that. They kind of just like to leave their tenant there and saying, oh, well, they're paying rent this month. That'll be great. And then they find out down the line there were problems. The property was being rented out as a short-term rental. They were doing things in the property that they don't approve of. They were having people in the property they don't approve of. You only find that out, or you're only able to kind of whiff that out if you do your job as a landlord and maintain relations and connections. And that maybe means, checking in on your tenant once in a while, or having a phone call with them, doing checks on the property. You can't do it all the time because you can't interfere with the reasonable enjoyment of the property by a tenant. But if you give sufficient notice, to come in and do your due diligence to check on the property, check on the tenant, there's ways to do it, right? And that protects your asset, and it's also gonna make things really easy with a tenant. The main issues I'm seeing out there between tenants and landlords comes down to miscommunication. All right. A landlord, big thing we're seeing now is a landlord wants the tenant out because they want to sell the property. They want to give the property in vacant possession to a buyer because it's a lot more attractive and less messy. Tenant doesn't want to go, right? They offer money up front, cash for keys as we call it. Tenant doesn't want to go, right? And a lot of those times when I talk with those kind of property owners or investors, what I find out is the breakdown in communication between the tenant and the landlord happened a long time ago, right? So trust has been broken, it's been breached, and no one's going to want to work together, okay? What I always say is there is a win-win opportunity for everybody involved. You just sometimes have to really dig to find that, and that's where sometimes we get into trouble that way, okay? So if you are thinking about being a landlord, or if you're thinking about purchasing a rental property, the only thing I would say is really do your due diligence, do your research. This isn't for the faint of heart. It's not free money, okay? A lot of people like to come in and think it's a passive investment, meaning they don't have to do anything. It's not a full-time job, but at the same time, it's not completely hands-off. It can be if you hire a property management company, and there's many out there that will take care of things like this for you for a fee and a price, but it's not completely hands-off. So, make sure you're educated on what's happening out there. Make sure you know the current rules and regulations because it's always changing every single day, it feels like, but just make sure you're up to date on what's happening legally out there. You can join Facebook groups like I'm a part of with a lot of different landlords out there and tenants, so you can kind of keep abreast of what's happening, all right? Well, I hope that's been helpful. If it has and you'd like more content like this, please subscribe to my channel. Other than that, thank you so much for watching and take care. Bye-bye.